Hello everybody, welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to be going over this post I seen on Facebook. I really liked it. I thought it was a good analogy, and I'm just going to go over it and read it to you, and we are going to go through some of the comments. Some comments are for it, some comments are against it. Let's just get into it. This post is from a page called to Mothering. Now, I have heard people talk about homeschoolers myself. The fact that we are putting our kids in a bubble, being too protective, and it's going to hinder them later on in life. Now, I'm just going to go over what I think about that in a little bit as I go through the comments. At first, we're just going to read what this person has written. People often say to me, "You can't keep your children in a bubble." And I reply, "It's not a bubble, it's a greenhouse. A bubble stifles growth and blocks out nutrients. A greenhouse provides an environment for cultivation. Children's hearts need to be greenhoused. Before they are ready to be transplanted out into the world, we release when their roots are deep and are mature enough to withstand the storm, not beforehand. While they are still under our protection, we take the responsibility for engaging them in learning about different cultures, ideologies, and values. They should only know worldly teachings enough that they will be inoculated against them. It's neither parenting out of fear or legalism, nor going to the opposite extreme of being too permissive. No, our children shouldn't grow up in a bubble, but they shouldn't be left exposed to the harsh outside elements either. The greenhouse of our homes has the right conditions for those young seeds to grow and flourish. Now, I like the ideology of the greenhouse. I believe that as parents, we don't want to bubble our kids and make it so when they're out on their own for the first time that they don't know how to function in society. That's not the goal of homeschooling. The goal of homeschooling is to raise confident, independent adults so that they can go out in the world and succeed in life and be able to thrive in society. Now, many people believe that homeschoolers don't thrive and aren't able to get anywhere in life, and that's the furthest from the truth. I know firsthand homeschoolers that do great and wonderful things. Homeschoolers are able to follow their passion and their dreams and do what excites them, and they're very intelligent people when handled by the right kind of parenting. Now, I'm not saying that there's not exceptions, that there's not homeschoolers that are schooled at home and not educated properly. That probably does happen. It's the same as some children that go through the public education system have lack of social skills, can't keep up with the other students and fall behind. It's the same thing. You can find awkward children in this public school system as well, and children that aren't at the same educational expectations as their peers in their class. So that being said, let's read some of these comments and see what people have to say about this article. Yes, indeed. Such a good description. May I share this? She's for sharing this. So that's awesome. Exactly. We're still recovering from the public school induced anxiety 3 years later. It's better now, but we are still scared to test the waters again. Oh man, I remember my daughter being homeschooled and had previously been public schooled, and she cried when she got one wrong on the test. I was so bothered by that. And yes, a lot of public schools, they emphasize on tests. It's very important to teachers in the public school system that you pass your tests, and it gives a lot of kids anxiety, especially if you're not a good test taker. Not all kids learn the same, and not all kids function well under stressful situations like tests. They could know the information, but when a test is presented in front of them, they freeze up and can't answer the questions because of anxiety. That does happen. I love this. I've had members of my family that have called me crazy because I wouldn't let my 3 and 5 year old have soda. It's like, first, it's loaded with chemicals and sugar, and I don't drink it. Second, if they have a healthy base as a child, or they will be a sick adult. I think she's meaning if they don't have a healthy base as a child, they'll be a sick adult. And yes, you don't want to introduce your children to harsh chemicals in certain foods too early. That much sugar is not good for a child. Beautifully said. I love this. Reminds me of my granddaughter. Yes, I used to say this, that I was not isolating my kids, I was insulating them. Nicely said, whether a child is homeschooled or not. But I do wonder about a choice of words here. To paraphrase, to be inoculated against world teachings. Wouldn't you want your child to learn from what the world can teach, especially when done in the context of the greenhouse environment? Yes, that's the point. I do want my children to learn about the world and what it teaches, just not from a biased secular perspective, and only in the context of examining these commonly accepted claims of the day. By doing that, they'll be inoculated in a sense against them. They should only know worldly teachings enough that they can be inoculated against them. What? That statement makes me uncomfortable, but the rest of the sentiment I appreciate very much. Thanks for sharing. Thank you for your feedback. It is the use of the word inoculated you're uncomfortable with. I meant that we as parents should be the ones introducing our children to these kinds of topics so they're aware of them and they don't buy into the commonly assumed claims of the day. Just like some plants. If children aren't exposed to the outside world like school, they won't survive the elements when they are bigger. Unlike plants, some people can't live in a greenhouse forever. They need to learn to handle the harshness of life gradually, not getting shoved out the door at 18. For another plant analogy, it's like a live Christmas tree. If you bring it inside or outside without accumulating it to its new environment, it'll die. Right. That's why you expose them to different ideologies, behaviors, and viewpoints while they're under your protection. The difference is you control the narrative and explain it all from a Christ-centered worldview first, instead of letting them be taught those things from only a secular perspective. You're assuming that children can only ever be exposed to the harshness of life by attending public school. They can learn how to handle conflicts biblically by dealing with siblings and friends. They can learn the damaging effects of certain lifestyles and beliefs by studying history, watching the news, or just interacting with ordinary people every day. There's plenty of sin to be found and reckoned with in their own hearts without immersing them in a godless, toxic environment. Now, now I'm going to go over some more of the comments or the replies to this comment here in a second, but I just want to make a point. There are so many people that believe that children will only survive if they go to public school and grow up going through public school. That is not true. Public school is a new thing within the last couple generations, the last couple 100 years. Public school is a brand new thing. It hasn't been around forever, and people have thrived before public school came out. Now, you don't need to go to public school to learn how to socialize. You can learn how to socialize being a homeschooler. You make friends around the neighborhood when you play outside. You go to events. You see parents get together and their kids get the opportunity to interact. Most homeschoolers plan field trip events where we all gather and we go to a field trip together. We plan play dates. We plan all of these things so that the children get the opportunity to play and be around other children. Many homeschoolers go to music lessons where they're in class with other kids. They go to sports. They do soccer, taekwondo, where they're around other kids and they make friends. They do all kinds of things. Most schooling schools have classes where you can attend to and meet up with other kids and do activities. Homeschoolers are not isolated from the rest of the world. We do get out in the world and we do meet new people. Now, a homeschooler is able to play with children of all ages. They're able to have a conversation with an adult and get along with somebody younger than them or older than them. Most public school kids are conformed to only be able to hang out with their own age group. They don't know how to socialize with anybody outside their age group because they spend all day, every day, 5 days a week, only around their own age group. That's where homeschoolers thrive. They socialize with kids in all the age groups and they socialize with adults, so they're able to be social with a broader amount of people. I don't know why or where people are getting that you need to go to public school to be able to function in the world. That's garbage. But let's look at some of the replies. Geez, okay, now I understand the real point of this post. Public schools are godless and toxic. Got it. Well, they kind of are. They're full of bullying. They're full of... The Bible and Christianity is not allowed in public school at all, so it's biased against Christians. You can't train a Christmas tree to live indoors without roots. I am a Christian, but I find that the notion that everything not colored with a biblical brush is toxic, rather judgmental and very unchristian. Yeah, there's always that person. Thank you. I was thinking that too. We are commanded to love our neighbors. I will love my neighbor that is gay because it's not my place to judge. Mine is to love. Nobody's saying anything about that though. That's not what the post is about. I hate it when people come in and make these points that have nothing to do with the post. She's not saying that we can't teach our children about other ways and ideologies and cultures. That's not what she's saying. She's doing it from a way where they can grow to be themselves without the pressures of the outside world. Do you know what the average first grader is learning from his or her peers in public school? Stuff that's above their level to be able to properly process such information. It is indeed evil and toxic. I shouldn't have known what I knew by the age of 8. I do think that in public school, young children are exposed to a lot of things too soon, and they're exposed to a lot of things that their parents should teach them about when they feel that they're ready. I don't think it's the public school system's place to be teaching some children things that they're teaching them. My kids are homeschooled after being in public school system for years. I also work at the school. Yep, they are toxic and godless. There is zero debating that. And that reminds me of something. Here is somebody that worked at a public school system that homeschools their own kids. I read an article, and I will put a link in the description of this video, of a public school teacher who homeschooled her own kids. You should really check that out and see why a public school teacher homeschooled her own children. I agree, but at the same time we must be vigilant of hiding messages. No, Harry Potter isn't toxic or evil. Helping our children understand fantasy versus reality is a basic level of parenting. The problem is the world and media, especially, are teaching fantasy as reality. Yeah, I kind of agree there. I agree. You can have a Christ-centered mindset while being immersed in the world. Remember, Jesus himself did not hang out with the righteous. He immersed himself in prayer and then went into the world. It's the only way the world will hear, see, and believe. Now, Jesus himself was grounded in the teachings of his Father and was God himself. He was the Son of God. We're talking about little children here. Little children that need to grow, mature, and be taught how to go out in the world and be grounded in their own self and their own beliefs so that the world doesn't destroy them. Jesus was well rooted and strong enough to withstand the attacks of the world. Our children are young and need to be protected from outside influences until they mature and are ready to go out into the world and shine their light. They're not ready to be immersed into the world when they're little. There's a reason why God tells us to protect our children, and especially mothers. Jesus tells us as mothers to protect our children and to raise our children. Pretty sure he respected his parents. Yes, he is literally perfect, but he wasn't under his parents as a middle-aged man. He was, I'm sure, an independent and self-responsible like any other middle-aged man making his own choice. I can imagine my teen who thinks he knows it all, and yet how do you raise a child that truly does? I'm sure, though, that he acted with so much grace and love that yet I'm sure that they didn't get some things. How awesome our God is to come down and humble himself and become man just so he can draw us close to him. Amazing. Okay, so what a great analogy. Perfect. Well said. I love this analogy. The first time I heard it was in an article a friend gave me by Pam Leo. When we raise seedlings in a greenhouse in rich soil with good drainage and provide them the right amount of water and sunlight and protect them from the wind, they grow deep roots and sturdy stalks. When it's time to transplant them out into the world, they will be not only hardy enough to survive, but virtuous enough to thrive. Children are not that different from seedlings. If we want them to develop deep roots and sturdy stalks so that they will be hardy enough to survive and virtuous enough to thrive, we must make their homes their greenhouse. The family must be a rich soil that nourishes them. We must provide them with the water of our love, the sunshine of our attention, and our protection from the winds of stress that weaken them. I have used this illustration often when I talk to others about parenthood. It's a beautiful sentiment. Perfect quote, Sarah. I use an example close to this all the time. Beautiful analogy. Thank you for stating so perfectly what I have often felt was at the heart of what I was trying to do but lacked the words to explain. So much, yes, I love this post. So, there's a lot of people that love this post and are very thankful for this post and how it describes parenting. And there are some people that disagree. There always is. Now, let me know down in the comments what you think about this post and some of the comments of what people are saying here. Maybe you have a different perspective. Maybe you like a certain part but don't like another part of this post. Let me know down in the comments what you think. I'd love to hear your point of view. That is everything that's going to be in this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you like this type of content, let me know. I can certainly do more content like this. Thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. Have an awesome day.